The wind howled through the crumbling walls of the abandoned asylum, its eerie whispers blending with the sound of distant thunder. The once grand institution, now a forgotten relic of a darker time, stood like a haunted monument against the night. Every crack in the brick, every shattered window seemed to tell a story of despair, madness, and torment. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the occasional creak of wood and metal groaning under the weight of years. Lena stood at the rusted gates, her breath visible in the frigid air. She was the leader of the group, always the first to push forward, no matter how much fear clawed at her chest. The others stood behind her, unsure but eager, drawn to the mystery of the asylum's dark history. They had heard the rumors, the patients who had disappeared without a trace, the strange happenings at night, but tonight, they were going to uncover the truth. "Are we sure about this?" Tom asked, his voice a low whisper, nervousness evident in his eyes. He looked up at the looming structure, his feet planted firmly as if his body was instinctively telling him to run. Lena turned to him, trying to mask her own unease with a forced smile. "We came for adventure, remember? It's just an old building." Sarah, the youngest of the group, shifted uncomfortably beside him. "It's too quiet. Don't you think it feels wrong? Like something's watching us?" Adam, ever the skeptic, laughed, but it was a hollow sound that didn't quite mask his own apprehension. "Come on, guys. It's just an old hospital. Nothing spooky here. Let's go." The gates creaked open, and with a final glance at the others, Lena led the way. The path to the building was overgrown with weeds and cracked stones, but they pushed forward, each step adding to the growing sense of dread that settled over them like a heavy fog. As they stepped inside the asylum's decaying entrance, the smell hit them. Stale air, dust, and something far less identifiable. The walls were covered in peeling paint, the floors buckled beneath their weight, and the silence was so absolute that even their own breath felt intrusive. "This place has been abandoned for years," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why is it so untouched?" "It's all part of the charm," Adam said with a nervous chuckle. "Let's see if we can find something interesting." They moved deeper into the building, their flashlights cutting through the thick darkness. The rooms they passed were nothing more than empty, decaying shells. Discarded chairs, broken tables, and forgotten belongings littered the floors. There was no sign of life, not even a rat or a stray cat. As they ventured further, a strange sensation creeped over Lena. She couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. It was as though the building itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. "Did you hear that?" Tom suddenly asked, his face pale. Lena paused, straining to listen. At first she thought it was just the wind, but then she heard it. Faint whispers, as if someone was speaking from the far end of the hallway. The voices were soft, unintelligible, but they seemed to be calling to them. I don't like this," Sarah muttered, her voice trembling. "Maybe we should turn back." "No," Adam snapped, more forcefully than he had intended. "We're fine. It's just the wind or the building settling. We came here for a reason, remember?" But the whispers grew louder, and then, just as quickly, they stopped. The sudden silence felt suffocating, and for a moment, no one dared move. "This isn't right," Tom said, his voice barely a whisper. "We should leave." But Lena was already walking towards the source of the noise, her curiosity getting the best of her. She pushed open a door at the end of the hallway, revealing a small, dimly lit room. It looked like a storage area. Broken furniture, old papers scattered on the floor, but the air inside felt different, heavier. Sarah stepped forward, her flashlight catching something in the corner. It was a mirror, large and cracked, its surface streaked with years of grime and neglect. As they approached, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Their breath clouded in the air, and the whispers returned, louder this time, almost urgent. Lena stepped closer to the mirror, her heart pounding in her chest. What the hell? For a split second, she thought she saw something move in the reflection. A figure, pale, gaunt, and standing in the shadows watching them. But when she turned around, the room was empty. "Did you see that?" Lena gasped, her voice shaking. I didn't see anything," Adam said, his voice tight with fear. "Let's go, this place is messed up." But before they could leave, the door slammed shut behind them, locking them inside. "That's it," Tom cried out. "We're trapped." The whispers grew louder now, a cacophony of voices that seemed to speak directly to them. The figures began to appear, flickering in and out of the corners of their vision, pale, twisted, and ghostly, with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through them. Their whispers were clear now. "Leave us," one voice begged, a raspy, sorrowful plea. "You don't belong here." "Never left," another hissed, its voice cold and venomous. "We never left." The shadows closed in on them, and panic surged through the group. Lena scrambled for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The air felt thick with something suffocating, and the room began to spin as the whispers turned into screams. "Help!" Sarah cried, backing into the corner, her eyes wide with terror. "Someone help us!" Then, suddenly, the door flew open. They didn't hesitate. Lena, Adam, Tom, and Sarah bolted from the room, running through the hallways without looking back. The asylum's dark corridors twisted and turned, but they didn't care anymore. They just needed to get out. When they finally reached the front doors, they burst through them and into the cold night air, gasping for breath. They didn't stop running until they were far from the asylum, too terrified to speak. But even as they stumbled away from the ruins, they could still hear the whispers, faint but unmistakable, calling to them from the darkness. And as they looked back one final time, they saw it. A figure standing in the broken window, its eyes locked onto theirs. The asylum's past had not been left behind. The spirits of its former patients still lingered, and they would never forget the ones who dared to enter their domain. The group never spoke of what happened that night, but the shadows of the asylum followed them forever.